I could get used to this. I could really get used to these Victory Mondays or Victory Tuesdays if we play on Monday night, or Victory Fridays when we're Thursday night. Anyway, you get it. You get the point. The Browns won against the Colts. This was a back and forth game. I was incorrect. As you know, I'm correct on a lot of things when it comes to sports. Nobody's perfect, though. I predicted the silly My silly prediction was that we were going to win 45-10. I saw the way our defense had been playing in the previous games, and I just assumed we were going to get that same defensive performance. Silly me. Silly me. So on defense, you have there's several different ways that you can run a defense, and there's several different outcomes. So there's bend but don't break. And we did. We saw some of that against the 49ers last week. Bend but don't break. There we go, making sure my feed is going. By the way, thank you for watching. If you're watching this on the New American Media, understand that we do provide sports content here, Cleveland centric. We have a sports show called The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Subscribe to it on Spotify as the podcast and search for The Unhappy Hour Sports Show on every major platform that you can think of. Maybe traditionally you're used to seeing TNAM, the New American Media, providing updates and shows on current events, politics, etc. This is the sports show. So if it's not your cup of tea, we'll see you next time. You can see yourself out. I hope you stay though. But this is the story of it's called the Unhappy Hour. Usually you get together and you have happy hour and you laugh and you have a good time. But as Cleveland sports fans, we've had our more than our fair share of misery. It's been traditionally ridiculous, historically ridiculous to think about the mass amount of chaos, frustration, and sadness that has befallen the Cleveland Browns fan, the Cleveland Indians fan, the Buckeyes fan, the Cavaliers. Jeez, I mean, yeah, well, the Cavs won a championship, but we were poised to win 4 in a row with LeBron. Kyrie, Kevin Love, that was supposed to be a four-peat. That was a guarantee. That was going to be an easy four-peat if it wasn't for, that super team out there in Golden State. And then they added Kevin Durant to that super team, all to beat LeBron James. We could have had 4 in a row, if not more. We were on track to become a dominant dynasty. Nobody was going to beat us. And we found a way to only win that one solitary championship. And that is the only major sports championship that I've celebrated in my lifetime. So anyway, that's the backstory there. Now back to defense. You can have a bend but don't break mentality. You can give up some yards, but when it counts and you keep them out of field goal range and, or maybe you give up 3 instead of 7. And yeah, maybe they march down and take some time off the clock, but you don't really let them into into the red zone. That's kind of what you were seeing out of this team. It was a lot of 3 and outs. We're gonna just kind of stop you, keep it contained, low scoring, fewer first downs, but we weren't taking the ball away. We weren't getting the ball. Defense has the ability. They call them turnovers. I'm a stickler for language. I want to make sure that we're using the right verbiage. There's a turnover and then there's a takeaway. On a turnover, you have a mistake from the other team created a situation for you. Now, a takeaway is you went out there, you punched the ball away, you sacked them, a strip sack, a interception, special teams turnovers. We saw, wow, did we see one of the best field goal blocks you will ever see with Myles Garrett. We'll get to that. It's so funny. We're burying the lead. It's almost unheard of that a human being could jump over 2 other men just from a standstill to jump over them, not touch them, and then block the kick. And Denzel Ward wasn't far off as he was reaching it over, trying to block it as well. But this defense had takeaways. That Myles Garrett play was something special. Absolutely special. But the Browns made enough plays down the stretch to make it work. Here we go. Let's go into a split screen here, shall we? How do we do the split screen? Yeah, it's going to chop some of it off. Here, let's go with that. Okay. Let's go through some of the stats here. I mean, Dustin Hopkins. Okay. Here, let me just kind of go through the game a little bit chronologically for a moment. First off, if you're a Browns fan and you're living in Ohio, you should make the trip over to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is not far away, not that far away. It's a tank of gas away. It's easy. Couple hours. It is, I've been to Indianapolis several times. I've been to a music convention for the NAM show. Went to another expo recently within the past year. It's a clean city. It's a nice city. A little boring, but it's clean and it's nice. And I'll tell you that Lucas Oil Stadium is a unique place to watch a game. It is fun. Really tall ceilings, vaulted, like kind of. It's like you're in a greenhouse. Retractable roof, so you had the fresh, crisp air in there. The sunlight coming through in the dome, not just artificial light, real, actual sunlight. And we did have the question, how long does it take to close Lucas Oil Stadium? Actually, I'm going to look that up. How long does it take to close Lucas Oil Stadium roof? Approximately 9 minutes. The steel trusses that support the roof are over 750 feet long, which is as tall as some of the taller skyscrapers in Indianapolis. Okay. There you go. Neat stadium. Go. Nice fans, nice people there. I really do encourage you checking it out. Especially try to go to the stadiums that are closest. Yeah, I don't know. Schittsburg, that might be a slightly different story with the bad blood between those teams. But I mean, we don't really have beef with the Colts except for when they rested all their starters in 2007 to keep a 10-win Browns team out of the playoffs. That's a whole other story. But yeah, I've been trying to go to more stadiums, and it's something that, as a Browns fan, I think it's one of the best ways that you can have a little mini vacation, a staycation. Just kind of, make it a couple of days. Go see the city, go eat, go walk around, go shopping. Like, get out while we can. Live a little bit while we're alive, okay? So, first off, stadium is just a neat place. I'm a big fan of their stadium. Thumbs up. In fact, it's exactly what the Cleveland Browns need in Cleveland. You need to be getting the conventions at your stadium. You need to be getting the Final Four. You need to be getting the larger events. When you're outdoor, what are you even doing? Between the rain and the snow, the place is unusable for a large percentage of the year. Get it together, Cleveland. I'm glad you put a stadium up in 99 to keep the team around, bring the team back, however you want to phrase it, but do what Indianapolis did. Become a mecca, a Midwest mecca for conventions, for large events. Get the Super Bowl. You're not going to get the Super Bowl with open air. You're just missing out. You can retract it if you need to, and you keep it open when you can. Best of both worlds. So do that. Anyway, let's get back to the game here. Game started off incredible. There we go. In the very beginning, they handed off on it kind of a basic run play, sort of up the middle, a little bit of a counter trap. 69 yards. Jerome Ford takes it the distance. Right off the bat. Took 57 seconds off the clock in the first quarter. 3 plays, touchdown. We were going. Like we were on path, we were on track, on the right path to getting 45. I mean, geez, we camped with 39. I was close that we were going to score a bunch. But I expected Deshaun Watson to be out there slinging it around. I expected, well, geez, with this subpar quarterback play that we've had from PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson Robinson, who won the backup quarterback position and seemed completely unprepared to play. It's like, are you literally giving your backup quarterbacks no reps in the practices? They need some reps. So when we went into this game, I was expecting the Cleveland Browns, led by Deshaun Watson, who's had a month to heal now since his shoulder was dinged up, to come out and just make smart plays. That's all we need. We need smart plays. We don't need 50-yard chucking it down the field bombs. It's not really how we're built. We just need smart play. We have playmakers. We have good players. My God, Deshaun Watson looked awful again. Awful. Two interceptions. One was taken off the board, I believe. So it turned into one interception for Watson. But he played a lot worse than that. I mean, scrambling. Okay, I guess he was elusive with his legs. Hooray. But man, he rolled out to his left and just chucked it for an interception. I think that second one was the one that they. Yeah, it was on the play where he banged his head. I mean, we were down in the kind of lower level. We were able to see it, and I mean, you watch his head bounce and recoil off of the turf there. Just the Deshaun Watson experiment has been miserable from beginning to now. All of it has been miserable. The way that Baker Mayfield was run out of town was awful. The amount of draft capital that we had to lose to get him was terrible. The amount of guaranteed money, it's not even a normal contract. It's guaranteed. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how it could be worse. He's playing like a man who knows he doesn't have to try. He's playing like a man that doesn't need to play. You gave Baker a bunch of grief because he gutted it out. He toughed it out. He was playing hurt. And let's be honest, despite having 3 or 4 terrible games, I'll admit Baker had 3 or 4 terrible games. But the rest of the season, he played well enough for us to be a playoff team if we had competent defense and competent special teams, which we did not. Browns have clearly one of the best defenses in football right now. Maybe the best. Man, if they turned around their special teams. Their special teams were a massive liability, directly cost us about 3 games 2 seasons ago. Jacoby Brissett played well enough to get us to the playoffs. And we've won 2 games the past 2 weeks, 49ers and Colts. Games that we could have lost, games we've traditionally lost. We found ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But guess what? We're finding ways to win.
Andrew wanted to make a
What is
splash at
playing
this
in the
year's pony
background?
lunch. So he saved big on a laser hair remover at Amazon.
Good grief. Shush. All right. So much going on with the Browns. The Browns gave up a lot of points and a lot of yards, but they had the most takeaways on the season. Huge. Anthony Walker with a fumble recovery against his former team. Ogbo Okononkwo with a recovered fumble. Tony Fields with a recovered fumble. Jerome Ford with a recovered fumble. Myles Garrett, 9 tackles, 7 solo tackles, 2 sacks, tackle for loss, a pass defensed, 2 quarterback hits. What an incredible player. We don't win the game without superhuman performances from Myles Garrett and from Dustin Hopkins, or Dustin Cleveland Hopkins Airport, as I call him. 4 for 4, right here. 4 for 4, people. 3 for 3 on extra points. Dustin Hopkins, a guy that wasn't even on our roster until the final moment. He's now become the first NFL player to have 5 games straight. 6 games straight? Was it 5 games straight? Of 50-yard field goals, including a long of 58. We don't win it without Dustin Hopkins. This is one of those games that we could have won, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but Cade York would have screwed it up, or the previous kickers would have screwed it up. Now, last week, everything was aligned for us. Phil Dawson led that beginning thing that they do in Cleveland, where he walks up a few stairs, and then there's a podium, and he smashes a guitar, and then it shoots up all the smoke or the mist or whatever you call it. You knew that last week against the 49ers was going to come down to a field goal. Philly D, who played on both of those teams, mind you. A lot of people forget that he left Cleveland and ended up on the 49ers. But a lot of people, as recently as this year, kept jokingly, not quite jokingly, asking, can Phil D, can he still kick? And he posted a video showing, I think he's a coach in Texas or something, showing that he can still kick. And I think he knocked in a 50-yarder. But Dustin Hopkins, I can be as critical of this team as anyone has ever been critical of any team. But I'm gonna give credit where credit is due to Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, for getting Dustin Hopkins and having the courage to cut Cade York, who just got a case of the yips. Can't have the yips. Kid's got leg talent. He's got talent. I don't know why he couldn't put it together. Spent a really high draft 4th-round pick on a kicker. 4th or 5th-round pick? Was he a 4th or a 5th? So kudos there, but now we're going to have to talk about how to improve this team, and I think it's going to come down to the quarterback room here, because a lot of sports is admitting failures and mistakes. Is it time to write off the Deshaun Watson trade as a massive mistake? No. Because we're already pot committed? But yeah. No, but yeah. No, but yeah. At least for this season. We just have to accept that Deshaun Watson will not be able to play this season. Maybe he will. Maybe not. Now, who do we go out and get? I think we need to go out and get somebody. PJ Walker isn't it. Another 25 QBR. Under 50% throwing the ball. 15 for 32. Couldn't even clear 200 yards and an interception with no touchdowns. This is not getting it done. Now, let's look here. 1 of 5 from Watson with an interception that should have been 2. That's a 0.3 QBR with a rating of 0. Last year, Watson sucked. This year, he has sucked. He had one game where he played good. He played well. He played one good game against the Tennessee Titans. Was that the fluke, or were all these other games the fluke? I don't know. But with this kicking team, I mean, geez, if you don't keep Denzel Ward off the edge. By the way, Denzel Ward should have been given more props last week for getting so close to that game-winning Jake Moody field goal attempt from the 49ers. He had to have affected the trajectory of that kick. I don't know how he missed it. He was that fast off the edge to get there. So you either got to defend him on the edge or defend Myles Garrett jumping up in the middle. Whoa. And when you're knocking in 50-yard field goals consistently, it's safe to say that the special teams is going to keep you in the games, provided that your defense is okay. How's our defense? Well, like I said, we weren't bend but don't break. We were gashed. They hung 38 on us. But we also took the ball away 4 times. And that has a way of balancing out. So what do we need to do now? I think what we need to do now is we need to get a quarterback. Who's available? Who's out there? Well, there's some familiar names. I think there's Colt McCoy. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think that's the one. There is another former quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. I think Jacoby Brissett played fairly well last year. He was serviceable. We won a lot of games with him. In fact, I contend that had we not played Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, last year came in looking like he didn't even read the playbook. He looked like an athletic kid who's used to improvising and running around back there, and he's just going to make it work because he's so darn smart. He's so darn good. He's so darn athletic. The same thing with Johnny Manziel. When Johnny Manziel came in, he never read the playbook, and it showed. He'd drop back, look around, 1,000, 2, 1,000, take off, and just start chucking around, running it. I'll make something happen with my legs. Because then it's just like backyard football. Everybody run around, someone get open. That's what Deshaun Watson looked like last year. Deer in headlights. He was chucking all the passes, turfing them. 3 yards at the shoelaces of the receivers. Airmailing them. That's a technique issue. That's a throwing motion. He had these problems before this shoulder injury. Oh, well, look, he took some time off. Yeah, he quit on his team. I actually had a conversation with the lady that said, he's racist, right? I said, huh? What are you talking about, Watson? He's like, yeah, he refused to play for the white coach down in the Texans. And he said, I'll sit out until you fire him and bring in a black head coach. I said, I didn't know that was known. Is that known? There was more to it than that, right? But regardless, Deshaun Watson sat for a season. He's like, I'm not playing. Oh, you're not playing. You're going to pull a Le'Veon Bell. How did that work out for Le'Veon Bell? Le'Veon who? It might be time to go get Jacoby Brissett. He's backing up Sam Howell over there with Washington. What draft pick would it take to bring him back on the roster? A 4th? For a backup quarterback, give him PJ Walker and a 4th? What about Kirk Cousins? It's not like Minnesota's doing all that great. Minnesota's 2-4, playing San Francisco. Minnesota is at home tonight on the Monday Night Football game. By the way, I'm scrolling through these, checking the scores here. What a terrible week for my fantasy football team, by the way. Blah. I went 1 for 3. Blah. Trying to win a championship over here. But yeah, what about Kirk Cousins? There's been a lot of rumors that he's on the trading block or that they might move him. He has a no trade clause. Oh, man. And I watched that series that was on Netflix, produced by Peyton Manning. It followed around Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes. I believe those were the 3. Am I leaving out one or is it just 3? Was there a 4th? It's called quarterback or QB or something. I don't know. That Kirk Cousins, kind of a likable dude. Bland, boring. Kind of little nerdy. Man, I just want consistency. I don't need flashy. How good would this team be if we had some consistent quarterback play? And look, it's not like Kevin Stefanski would be unfamiliar with Kirk Cousins. He played with him up in Minnesota. Would Minnesota be open to bringing him back? Uh, would Minnesota be open to kind of hitting a hard reset on their season? I mean, Cousins has 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Compare that to the quarterback play we've seen out of 3 quarterbacks through 6 games for the Cleveland Browns. The roster of the Vikings here has rookie quarterback Jaron Hall out of BYU, Sean Mannion, 8-year pro out of Oregon State, Nick Mullins, remember Nick Mullins, 5-year pro out of Southern Miss. And then there's Kirk Cousins, 35 years old, 12 years in the pros. Could any of them take over if the Vikings declared this season to be a train wreck? Want to start stockpiling draft picks and doing a revamp? And do the roster revamp? So, I mean, I think they got to be looking really strong at Kirk Cousins and Jacoby Brissett, people that Kevin Stefanski is familiar with playing with. Familiarity playing with? What am I? There's a better way to say that. I don't know that we can continue season with the quarterback play the way that it is. Is it fool's gold that we're 4-2? I mean, you know, in a way, then in another way, no. We are what our record says we are. You know, Jerome Ford didn't really get things going aside from that one long rush. He was really bottled up aside from that one big play. 5 yards on 10 carries. And then 160. Kareem Hunt, only 31 yards on the ground on 10 carries, but guess what? 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt runs like he's angry at the ground. I hate that Nick Chubb is off of this team. It's so sad to me that Nick Chubb can't be here for this. This is a real playoff push of a team that's making a playoff push. You know, Pierre Strong got a bunch of carries too. 8 rushes for 25 yards, only 3.1 average. Marquise Goodwin with 1 rush for 17 yards. We got to find a way to get Goodwin the ball. It's just tough because our quarterback play is so inconsistent right now. You know, and the people that want to complain about the penalty flags at the end of the game, you know, I mean, they were penalties. What do you want? I would say the second penalty, the one where they were saying that what was it, Cooper initiated contact? No, he didn't. It kind of depends how you're looking at the play and maybe depending on the angle. But the defender wrapped and held him as he was making his cut. You can't do that. That's an easy flag. You can't say the refs gave us that one. No. You know, that one that was airmailed out the back of the end zone, was it uncatchable? If Myles Garrett was sitting on the shoulder pads of Donovan Peoples-Jones, could Myles have caught it? Maybe. I'm not quite convinced. But the answer is perhaps. But I'm not going to get hung up on a couple of calls. We have been on the wrong side of almost every significant call at every major key juncture of every game since I can remember. Okay, it might not exactly be that dire That might be a little bit of hyperbole there, a little bit of, because definitely tend to forget the ones that went in our favor. And we never forget the bad calls, like the helmet to helmet collision on the Baker Mayfield touchdown pass to Hollywood Higgins in a game that would have sent us to the AFC Championship game with Baker Mayfield, except for that helmet to helmet that instead of 7 points, turned into a touchback through the end zone, and they got the ball instead. We lost that game by less than 7 points. That would have won us the game. But no, I'm not going to sit around and get hung up on the referees on this one. We'll take it, and we'll move on. Because we made plenty of amazing plays that deserve to win this game. But, on the defensive side, Gardner Minshew, I did notice, and by the way, he had 3 fumbles. That's a really painful statistic. 3 fumbles. Now, when you're going up against Myles Garrett and those strip sacks, what are you gonna do? There's not much you can do. But I think what Gardner Minshew proved, and we better figure out an answer to it. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. 3 rushes, 29 yards, and 2 touchdowns, a long of 17. Something about the Cleveland Browns defense was allowing that openness in the middle to be exploited by a quarterback that was not afraid to tuck it and run. That's a weakness. Now, that weakness was exploited for 14 points. Take those 14 points off the board, you're down to 24. Okay? That's much more respectable than giving up 38. But the defense has really got a lot to improve on. I believe that Denzel Ward had a concussion, but then he did come back to play. So, once again, the health of our defense is a paramount concern. Every year, every position, it counts for health, but especially that defense. In the past, we had been snake bitten, and Denzel Ward and his concussion issues have sadly been a reoccurring situation for a while. So we'll keep our eye on that. But yeah, Gardner Minshew exposed a weakness on that defense that has to be cleaned up. But we were able to put some pressure in there. What's better? You get a couple of highlight plays from Myles in a loss, or a ho-hum effort where other players succeed in a win. It's not about the individual stats. I talked last week about the 49ers game being a signature victory for the Browns. It's a signature win. It's a signature moment from the franchise since they've come back in '99. It put us on the map. It showed that we're for real. We're legitimate. Even being down all the players we have injured, from Batonio to Chubb to who else was out? Watson. And we still found a way to win. But there's also signature plays from players in their season and in their career. I think you're going to be seeing that Myles Garrett jump over the line and block that kick. That's a signature play, a signature moment from that player that will always be there. And it's definitely a season highlight. Absolutely a season highlight. And those things are good to see. But at the end of the day, PJ Walker did lead us on some drives that got points. Jerome Ford, he didn't do anything on 10 rushes, but he did on 1. And if you remember, Barry Sanders was often gain of 1, loss of 2, gain of 3, loss of 2. And it's like for a lot of the game, he's doing nothing. Then pop, 70 yards down the sideline. And then you look, it's like, oh, he's got 120 yards rushing and a touchdown. How did that happen? It's because he has that home run DNA. Nick Chubb has home run DNA. He's a home run hitting running back. I know I'm mixing metaphors, but it makes sense. Because on any one play, he can take it for the score. Solely based, obviously there's 10 other people on the field, but solely based on his ability to hit home runs. He's an impact player. Yeah, it really was a team effort. 37 rushes for the 3 running backs. Pierre Strong got 8 touches. Hunt with 10 and Ford with 11. And Njoku was the highest targeted again. 9 targets, only caught 5. Cooper targeted 8, only caught 2. Elijah Moore targeted 7, caught 4. Can I ask though, what is with our wide receiver? What is Cedric Tillman? He was our 3rd round pick. He can't even see the field. Is he still injured? I mean, I look at Harrison Bryant and Peoples Jones and Goodwin. I mean, is there not room for our 3rd round draft pick to get a couple of touches? He's still injured? Is that what that is? But yeah, I'm going to be concerned about the Browns defense if we continue playing like this. This is high risk, high reward kind of defense. Big plays, but then getting gashed for big plays. That one jumped offside, and then like the whole team stopped playing. The Browns just kind of like stopped. But you can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. And that's where they had the really deep pass from Minshew. Ended up going for the touchdown. That was a game-changing play. If that doesn't happen, maybe we are able to put our boot on their neck and just dominate the game and grind it out. But we let them back into the game. We kept them hanging around. In fact, we were trailing 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. We dominated the second quarter, 20-7. Then it was much more low scoring in the last 2 quarters, but we got it done when we needed to. I hope they look at that film and they see where I believe it might have been Miles that jumped off. I think it was the right end. If you're offside and they haven't blown the whistle, you need to go wrap up the quarterback. Own it and stop the play. Don't give them a free play. We quit playing. We did not fully execute the rest of that series, the rest of that play. And it cost us a touchdown. And that comes down to coaching and practice and experience. You have to know that if you jump off sides, you got to go wrap up the ball carrier. Make them blow the whistle. Make them blow it dead. Otherwise, you have no upside and a potentially cataclysmic downside. So that's an area that we need to learn from. But overall, this was a gutsy win from a gutsy team. Absolutely. It was frustrating but impressive. It was a prize fight last week in Cleveland against the Niners, and it was a prize fight this week. It was back and forth and back and forth. To be a good team, you have to win some ugly games. Not everything will go perfectly. Just assume nothing will ever go perfectly. How about start with that? Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but you still have to find a way to win. So game balls go to Dustin Hopkins. Obviously, game ball goes to Myles Garrett. Do yourself a favor. Just type in, look up the highlights from this game from Myles. Good Lord. You know what? Give a game ball to Andrew Berry. Well, then take it away. All right. Take a ball away from him for the whole Deshaun Watson mess. God, we still traded our first round pick next year too, didn't we? Ugh. But then give him a game ball for getting Dustin Hopkins. We could be 2-4 or 1-5 without Dustin Hopkins. Could you imagine our team with lousy kicking again? That would not be pretty. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll give the game ball to Andrew Berry. But we're going to take it away because of Deshaun Watson, who has really shown Cleveland just about nothing since he's been here. Defend him. Maybe he'll come back and maybe he'll be okay and maybe he'll Lead us to a Super Bowl. Maybe. Maybe not. But we're going to need Andrew Berry to work some magic and get us a quarterback that can play. DTR looked great in the preseason. We all liked DTR in the preseason. We thought he might be the guy. I actually went so far as to have a hunch saying I have an intuition, a gut instinct that Watson is not going to be our guy. Turns out that was true. Well, I mean, thus far. But it would be the backup. I think it would be DTR that's going to win us a Super Bowl. Now, maybe it won't be. He was so bad. We went and brought in PJ Walker, who started 2 games in a row. Is DTR that bad? He's the one you named as your primary backup, and he's not even good enough to back up the quarterback. I don't know. I mean, the Browns made enough plays on offense to win the game. But a lot of those points came from the kicking game and it came from special teams. We can't keep winning like this. I don't want to trust that we can keep winning like this. So I am all in favor of whether it's Carson Wentz, probably not Matt Ryan, probably not Colt McCoy. I don't know. I mean, I would consider Josh Dobbs at this point. When is Kyler Murray coming back? We got a 5th-round pick for him. Could we give him that 5th-round pick back? Like, hey, he knows our system. We're quarterback shy. Can we bring him? I don't know. But I think we're going to have to try something. We're going to have to go and find some way to get reliable quarterback play. I mean, could we possibly bring in Kirk Cousins? My God, how much money would be wrapped up at the quarterback position? But actually, there's not much left on his contract, right? I think that's part of the deal. He has 1 or 2 years left, or half a year, or 1 year left, a year and a half, or half a year. I don't know, something like that. Actually, let me look. Kirk Cousins' contract, a 2-year extension. His most extent. Oh, geez, it gives me everything except this year. Recent extension in 2022. This is so weird. It's telling me. Oh, okay. Since extended his contract twice in Minnesota, signing a 2-year, 66 full and a 1-year. Every one of these articles I'm pulling up, it gives you a partial. All right. This is from Adam Schefter. It says few players in NFL history have conquered the offseason more than Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins, who once again put himself on a path to a lucrative payday. Cousins' entire salary has been guaranteed for each of the past 8 seasons, including the one that starts Sunday. He's made $231 million, with 99% of it being fully guaranteed. Okay, here we go. Vikings can't use a franchise tag on Cousins, who's assured of having the ability to become an unrestricted free agent in 24. Okay, we're in 23. So next year he can become a free agent and do whatever he wants. So the Vikings added 4 voidable years of his deal. The contract doesn't void until the day before the 24 league year begins, March 13th. 8 days after the March 5 deadline closes for teams to use their franchise tags. Clear path to free agency. You have a lot of teams who might be looking. All right. Yeah, Nick Mullins is listed as the backup there. I believe Kirk Cousins has the ability to void his contract. I'm sorry. He has the ability to void any potential trades. So it's up to him. It's not like the team can make a decision and just send him somewhere. That's my understanding. Playing at Michigan State over there in the Midwest. He's up in Minnesota right now. Would he come to Cleveland? Would he look at this defense and the special teams and the players we have and say, I could win here? Maybe a lot of it's going to be hinging on the game tonight. Are the Vikings going to go 2-5? If they go 2-5, that's bad. So are we pulling for the 49ers tonight? I can't trust Watson, and I can't trust Walker, and I can't trust DTR. So even if it's Jacoby Brissett, maybe Carson Wentz, maybe even Kirk Cousins. Remember, the Browns don't we still have the most cap room in the NFL? We could definitely afford to take on his contract for half a year. And that would instantly upgrade our weakest position on the team. So it's worth a thought. Around the league yesterday, the Jaguars beat the Saints 31-24. Jacksonville's looking kind of solid. Buffalo got shocked by New England 29-25. Giants took down Washington 14-7. Baltimore trounced the Lions. Who saw that coming? 38-6. It's kind of like the game I was predicting it was going to be for the Browns. Chicago. Bears beat the Raiders 30-12. Baker and the Bucks fell. How did Baker play? I mean, not well enough to win. Only put 13 points on the board. (27-42), 275 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. They're not getting anything out of their rushing game, by the way. Nothing. 34 yards on 13 carries from Rachaad White. Oh, their running game is atrocious. Tampa falls to 3-3. Falcons look like they're starting to take control of their league there, their division. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh beat the Rams 24-17. Cardinals lost to the Seahawks 20-10. Whew. Two teams that haven't been playing all that great. Denver gets the win over Green Bay 19-17. Chiefs beat the Chargers 31-17. Philly beats the Dolphins. Kind of convincingly. Let me pull this up here. I want to show you the standings because we are deep into the season now. There we go. Let's take a look at this. Man, we're 4-2, but we're third in our division here. Look at that. Ugh. Yeah, the Colts were a decent team. I was surprised. They were better than I gave them credit for. I thought with their backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew, he had several fumbles. You know, he was getting beat up by one of the best defenses in the league. But he put points on the board with his legs and with his arm. So you got the Jets still in the hunt at 3-3. Never count New England out at 2-5. Bills are 4-3. Dolphins are 5-2. 5-2 Ravens. Then both us and the Steelers 4-2. Bengals 3-3. Jaguars in the AFC South are leading, 5 wins to 2 losses. And you got the Texans 3-3, who've been pretty good under CJ Stroud's leadership. Colts fall to 3-4. Titans sitting at 2-4 in the basement of that division. In the AFC West, of course, the Chiefs are 6-1. Then a whole lot of nothing. Jeez, the Chargers are 2-4. Yikes. Raiders are 3-4. Broncos are 2-5. Some of the other playoff contending teams, the Eagles at 6-1, Cowboys 4-2, Lions, they got humbled for sure, 5-2. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, the disparity between 5-2 and 2-4. That NFC North is junk. Maybe Kirk Cousins could be. I wonder what they would want for him. And would we be willing to pay it? Because we need a quarterback. Because we have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. Our window is now. Go. Go spend it. We can't keep playing the people that we have at quarterback. We just can't. Falcons with a huge win over the Buccaneers, taking commanding position there. Saints are still fighting hard, 3-4. They're in the mix. Panthers again at 0-6. I think they're the only winless team in the NFL. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I watched Bryce Young. I watched him playing a couple weeks ago. He looked awful. Just confused. Now maybe the whole team is trash. I'll grant you that. But he looked terrible. They're still sitting there winless at 0-6. Cardinals not too far behind at 1-6. Rams at 3-4. Seahawks at 4-2. 49ers at 5-1. Who we beat. So I mean, sitting at 4-2 is a respectable place to be. Maybe we got lucky. Maybe we didn't. Maybe luck is where preparation and opportunity meet. Huge game. Kudos. So happy to be a part of this season. 4 wins early is a nice place to be. We got a lot of stuff to work on, a lot of stuff to improve upon and clean up for next week. But when you're winning, it's not so devastating to have to go through and figure out what went wrong. It's like, all right, we got through despite all these problems. But the next couple of weeks, you're gonna see us shifting, as we always do. The middle of the season in the NFL, some teams are gonna work their way up, and some teams are gonna slide their way down. We have an air quote favorable schedule, some would say. We play a lot of teams that are beatable. That doesn't matter. I mean, the Colts played us as tough as you can play a team without actually getting the victory. Every team has the potential to beat us. But I'm really happy we're in this spot. I like a lot of the core on this team. I am blinking red with concern on Deshaun Watson. We may really just have to accept the potentiality that he doesn't play another snap this season. And with the defense this good and the special teams this good, we need to go out and trade for someone that can sling it and not make stupid mistakes. It wasn't that Watson well, it was. He threw 2 bad passes behind the guy. It was like a 5-yard. I think the running back came out and he's trying to float him, not quite a screen, but a short out route or something over the middle, and threw it. He's running one way and he throws it behind him at his ankles. Uncatchable. Threw another bad pass, and then had 2 interceptions. Luckily, one got taken off the board. I mean, if your arm is hurt and you can't make certain throws, I can understand a lack of velocity. I can understand not being able to throw it very deep in general, but to just make horrendous decisions to throw it to the other team. These were bad interceptions. I was excited to see Deshaun Watson. Look, I drafted Deshaun Watson in my fantasy football team. I said, all right, he's at his full off season. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. We got a lot of weapons on this team. We're gonna have a good year. No, Deshaun Watson's terrible. Terrible. We might have to just accept that he's not going to be our quarterback this season or ever. Do we go out and get a second franchise quarterback? We're just going to have to draft somebody in the second round and, all right, kid, you're up. Like DTR. We got him in what, the 5th round maybe? I have little to no faith in that quarterback position. I think our line has some talented players. I think our running backs are serviceable. I like the tandem of the three of them. They're all right. Ford has some home run hitting potential capabilities. I feel like we have some talented wide receivers. We don't get them the ball that often, but maybe that's because of a bad quarterback play. So let's see. The trade deadline is coming up. I really hope the Browns are going to be active in this. I hope we don't have to sell the farm again because we already sold it. Selling the farm to developers. Blah. But I think we have about a week left on the trade deadline. I hope we're out there kicking the tires of everybody and we can bring somebody else in because if you can just get stable quarterback play, I think we have a chance to win our division. The Ravens look good. Steelers are the Steelers, doggone it. They're always consistent. They're always tough competitors. I don't know how they're winning. They're still winning. They're not that good. They beat us, but we beat ourselves in that game. Ravens beat us. Ravens beat the brakes off of us. And that was because DTR was unprepared. And because the Ravens are good. That's the first game I've seen Lamar Jackson make multiple pinpoint passes. I've never been a big Lamar Jackson fan. He ran for Remember, he ran for 2 touchdowns, right? We were exposed as a team that will let the quarterback run 2 touchdowns. It's happened to us twice. So for as good as our defense is, we need some sort of QB spy component that can stop that stuff from happening. Because it's become a bit of a trend if you're following these games. But I'll take being 4-2, trying to figure out how to get better than sitting at 2-4 with no hope on the rest of the season. If we, we're going to get a redemption game against both the Steelers and the Ravens. If we can take those down, that changes the dynamics of the entire league, the entire AFC North division. It's not like we can count the Bengals out either. They started off weird, but they're starting to get their rhythm figured out. It's a tough division. It might be the toughest division in football. But to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. And we did. Had a great time in Indianapolis yesterday. I encourage all of you to go out and see a Browns Colts game. Good stuff. So subscribe to the Unhappy Hour in all the places where we are. We're not on Rumble yet. We are on YouTube. We're on Telegram. We're on Facebook. Find the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. We're on Twitter at the Unhappy Hour _. And yeah, we travel out west. I was trying to meet up with Paul Brown. I've been following that cat for a few years. He's from England. His name's Paul Brown. And he's a huge Cleveland Browns fan. I keep crossing paths. I keep missing this guy. He travels to America all the time. But he's going from Indianapolis, taking the bus over to Seattle, Washington this week for the Browns-Seahawks game. It's a winnable game, but it's on the road. But hey, we did it this week. We can do it next week. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. Go Browns. Talk to you later. Peace.